Celtic fans today wrote to Neil Doncaster. Now, I'm going to let you into a little bit of an insight into Mr Doncaster. Now, remember the deal for Scottish football with Singe. That deal was worth 1.5 million a year. Keep that figure in mind as this video goes on, because Celtic fans today wrote to Neil Doncaster with regards to the away allocation at games. And he's a guy that's been around Scottish football for a long time. He was the chief executive of the Scottish Premier League 2009 to 2013. He's been a director of the European Leagues from June 2013 to June 16. He's the Scottish FA director part-time 2018 to present. He's been the chief executive of the Scottish Professional Football League, the SPFL, since June 2013. So he's overseen a lot of things that's happened in Scottish football. So the fact that this deal that he got for 1.5 million a year, that is divvied up between 42 clubs in Scotland, is quite ridiculous. And we'll get to the letter that Celtic fans sent in just a minute. For the last 5 years and 5 months, he's also been on a UEFA committee. A member of the UEFA Controls for Ethics and Disciplinary Body. It's no wonder Celtic keep on getting fines then, isn't it? But Mr Doncaster, I have to say, I've been doing a bit of digging, and it is absolutely ridiculous that if we want to get rid of Neil Doncaster, he has a 2 years notice period. That could cost the SPFL £800,000. £800,000, that's right. Now remember that deal that's one worth 0.5 million a year? He takes 400,000 of that straight away. So how much is left divvied up between the clubs? It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely, I am fuming. Absolutely fuming. Neil Doncaster needs to hang his head in shame with the money that he's brought into Scottish football. And the deal with the Singe deal, cars without the faff, well, he's got bonus without the faff and wages without the faff. And let's face it, that deal was terminated 2 years early. Will he go out and get a better deal for Scottish football? I probably don't think so. He's got a 2 year period. If Scottish football wants to get rid of him, we've got to give him 2 years notice, and we've got to pay up his contract for 2 years. £800,000. That's more than any club gets on a yearly basis from the sponsorship deal. This morning, Celtic fans wrote a letter to Neil Doncaster regarding the Hearts allocation. And thinking about it, I'm going to read the letter in full. Dear Neil, I hope you're well. These are trying times for everyone. The reason for my email is the latest club to cut the ticket allocation to Celtic Football Club by Hearts and Midlothian Football Club. It's becoming increasingly frustrating for the Celtic supporters who are trying to access tickets for away matches in Scotland. Bearing in mind that Celtic have the biggest travelling support in Scotland, and maybe even the UK when it comes to it. It makes no sense for clubs who continue to complain about the lack of funds to be denying tickets to visiting supporters when there are plenty of seats available within their stadium. And you look at the TV pictures just to see what we're talking about. I know you have said in the past you don't want to interfere with clubs. You don't want to interfere with clubs, but you'll take 400 grand a year and you'll get a sponsorship deal that's only worth 1.5 million a year. But nobody questions it. We'll get back to the letter. Just as UEFA imposed supporter allocation on clubs participating in their tournaments, it's high time for the SPFL to do the same. I don't know if any football association in Europe let club sides decide such an important issue. I include our nearest neighbours in England. I believe that the English Premier League have visiting clubs allocated 3,000 tickets, or 10% of the stadium capacity if it is greater than 30,000. They also had a price cap for visiting supporters. That is an argument for a different day. Some of the people may think that the stadia in England, like Old Trafford, the Emirates, and for instance, Fulham and Crystal Palace, they have a capacity of around 25,000. Brentford only has a capacity of 17,000. Bournemouth has an 11,000. And finally, Luton has just over 10,000. Hardly World Cup standard. The letter goes on, it says. The letter then goes on to say, I think that Scotland would be difficult to use a percentage of any capacity for allocation purposes. We don't really have a big problem at Perth or Livingston. We do have a problem at Ibrox, Kilmarnock, St Mirren, and the latest allocation from Hearts of 576 is absolutely scandalous. How do supporters club run coaches to matches when they might have only one tickets? We will soon see coach companies going into liquidation. But it's okay, they can come back as another coach company and just call it the same coach company and use the same buses and not have to sell any assets. That's the way that Scottish football goes, after all. And the allocation of 7,000 tickets for Livingston, there were still supporters outside trying to buy tickets. So Livingston, St Johnstone maximised the allocation to help themselves. While we have Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, St Mirren given smaller allocations while their stadium is far from full. It's financial suicide. I would respectfully suggest that a minimum of allocation of 2,500 tickets for a club that can sell that allocation to their own support. It would be create a proper atmosphere, especially where the visitors were Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs. Aberdeen cut their allocation because the seats were thrown at their supporters. That was saying a long time ago. Why should Celtic supporters be the ones that punished for their own fans' action? That's right, Aberdeen fans threw seats at Celtic supporters and they wanted to distance the Aberdeen supporters from... Anyway, it's all about safety, isn't it? The letter goes on to say Celtic have been forced to decline tickets for Ibrox because of safety for our staff and supporters. It could not be guaranteed. When will we be forced to decline tickets from Hearts too? It is the irony. Hearts will give their most hated rival Hibs the full stand with a reciprocation from Hibs. Celtic Football Club are the only club in Scotland with a professional and successful board of directors. It certainly looks like it. Kind regards, John O'Rourke, General Secretary of the Celtic Supporters Association. I fully back the Celtic Supporters Association. I was a member for it for many, many years, and I fully back their argument about trying to get more tickets than it is financial suicide. And to get back to this Neil Doncaster nonsense that he has, I mean, why hasn't this, I mean, it was picked up a few months ago, this story, but it's never really been, the Scottish media are never going to talk about it. Scottish media, let's face it, are all the Celtic podcasts going to talk about it? I doubt it. But the fact is, it could cost the SPFL in the region of £800,000 if they were to part company with Neil Doncaster, the long-standing chief executive. He has a 2-year notice period. That's absolutely disgusting. The sponsorship deal with Cringe, and a cringe at the actual amount, was 1.5 million between 42 clubs. It's time Neil Doncaster was kicked out of Scottish football and we brought in someone that actually knew how to run a business properly. He's been in and around Scottish football for years, and I'd get that, and he's obviously well respected within the lodge environment. And the fact that he's now got himself a nice little position at UEFA for the last 5 years, that's been kept under wraps, is it not? And he's a member of the Control, Ethics and Disciplinary Body. Oh, the irony of that. And he can't get a decent deal for Scottish football. It's absolutely disgusting. Tell me your thoughts in the comments about Celtic writing to Neil Doncaster. Maybe we should just do what the Sevconians did when they went bust. Then we should just march to Hampden when there's nobody there. But then we would probably march to Hampden when he was there, and we would kick down the doors, and then we would get bad press for that also. So we're not condoning violence in any form on this channel by any means. But something has to be done about it. And let's face it, Neil Doncaster. It's about time the Celtic board started asking questions. Because I tell you one thing, this is not on.